Welcome back to another episode of Made Up of Wires, where we're decompiling Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Been working on NZ1, or the Clock Tower. NZ1 now has a graph, finally, on this board. It's been worked on a little longer than this. I think, should we take some time and fix these graphs? So there's an issue with the graphs in that they... Oh, is cell done? No, still not done. They always add the last entry as the current date, which isn't correct. And we should add another entry there to give the correct date. If my node skills were a little better, I might do that. You could go to sutton.z.dev to see these graphs, by the way. I might do that. It really should just be a push with the current date, which should be straightforward enough, but who knows. Sutton.z.dev will also include a link to GitHub, where you can see all the things that we've done on the stream, mostly the things that I've submitted back, and a link to the Discord server as well. Merry Christmas a week later to everybody. Hope everybody had a great Christmas, and looking forward to the new year. Looked back at the archives. I think there's been 180 Made Up of Wires streams this year. I really appreciate everybody who's tuned in, helped me fix my mistakes along the way, and all those other things. And here's looking forward to another 2026 great year. See how it goes. So we've been working on Karasuman, and I think we're going to keep going there. If you're not familiar with Decompilation or the Castlevania Symphony of the Night Decompilation project, this is a matching decompilation project, which means we're going to try to write some C code that compiles back to exactly the same machine, in this case MIPS assembly, machine code that was originally on the game disk. And we have a couple different tools that we're going to use to do that. Primarily, we're going to be using decomp.me. We get the extraction of the assembly code using a tool called SPIM, which is invoked by Splat. These were originally written for N64 decompilation, but because PlayStation uses many of the same, very similar architecture, which is MIPS, as well as similar compilers. The N64 uses SGI's compiler, which is... I can't remember at the moment, but I want to say like ICU or ICO. We'll go to decomp.me, it'll tell us in a second. But I believe that's a derivative of GCC, if I remember correctly. And the PlayStation uses GCC primarily as its compiler as well, so there's a lot of similarities between the build systems on both of those. So we've gotten through, and I think there's 3 remaining Karasuman functions. We've done all the small ones, so we're going to go to the next one, next biggest one, which I believe is Orb Attack, is the next one that we haven't done yet. I think we got through Feather. Yep. So let's pull Orb Attack and try to get through that one. I'm assuming usually what happens with these is they're written by the same developer, and so they usually have a very similar style, and we can use that to our advantage. So we have a jump table. The jump table is interesting. On the PSP, a lot of padding there, and that may mean that this is the last data from this file. We get a little bit of padding, but that looks just like padding to the next 16 byte boundary on the PlayStation. So I'm going to copy this. I like starting with the PlayStation because I feel like the initial decompilation that we get from a tool called M2C is better. In general, though, the assembly is easier to follow without additional tools on the PlayStation because we have the benefit of the overlays not being optimized on the PSP. So let's go look. IDEO. Sorry, not ICO. IDEO. That is the N64 compiler. We're going to go to the PlayStation. Now this is decomp.me. So on decomp.me, we can put the assembly that we've extracted from the game. In this case, we have a Symphony of the Night preset, which tells us all of the compiler options and other things like that, the SDK that was used. And then we create our scratch and we get an initial C listing. Usually it doesn't compile, but we'll get it to compile. Hey Nate, good to have you back. Nice to have you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. So we're going to fix these compile errors, just a few of them. The first arg to animate entity is going to be a unsigned 8 array. And so we can fix that. And then M2C figured out that we are taking an entity as the first arg, which is correct. We're going to call that self. And I like taking that function signature and putting it in the context. The context is like a header file M2C uses. It can't do all of the things that a header file typically does, and maybe I should go and try to fix that. But it does do a bunch of things. So we have one more compiler error down on line 40. And this is part of an entity extension. There's a struct that's used for all entities in the game, and there's some bytes in that struct that are used differently depending on what type of object it is. And so what we're going to do... Sorry, one more. Just checking a message. What we're going to do is use the Karasuman entity extension that we've used already. And I've been just taking it and putting it inline in the entity extension because that's pretty straightforward. We won't do that in the source repo, but for this part, I think it's pretty nice. And I think I'll actually run M2C again.
Sorry, I'm having problems completing your request.
See if it can...
if you continue to have issues, please contact support.
If it can find that. It can't find that, so we'll give it a little help. I think that this is going to be parent, but maybe not. So let's check. So this is 8 words into this entity extension. And so we have to go through and add all these up to find our 8 words. We have 1, 2. This is odd. Why do I have an offset of 24 here? I think I screwed this up. So we'll say 3, 4, 5, 6. This must work out to 8. But that seems like this should be a a 32. Let's see if these work out. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 3 more would get us to 8, 9. No, 8A. So this would be 8C, 9, 0, 9, 4, 9, 8. Let's see if that works out. Well, we'll use it anyway, and then figure it out. So not only do we need, so this is going to be Karasuman parent, I think, but then we're going to the extension there. Hey, Dizek, good to have you back. And we're at offset 85 there, and we have flag 2 there. So we have a pointer to a pointer. The pointer is going to be here. So we have our self pointer, which is our argument, pointing to the contents of a struct, ext char assuming parent, which is a pointer, pointing to the ext field again, and then flag2. I think that is mostly correct. Oh, we need a char assum in there as well. And fortunately, all of the sub-entities seem like they're pointing to the same thing. We're slightly off. It should be flag 1. And do I have this wrong then? Probably. So why is this coming back as 85? It doesn't seem like that should be offset 85. Did I do math wrong somewhere? It wouldn't be the first time. So we have 80. Offset 82. We have 2 more bytes here. Oh, this should be 84. Yeah, there we go. So this is 87, 88, and 89, and yeah, the rest of these are okay. Thank you, Dizik. Yeah, Dizik is helping me out. We got it. These comments usually I do keep in, and you can find them in entity.h. Oh. Let's hopefully this is saving. Try to reload. I'm a human most of the time. Yes, Twitch and YouTube. I don't have YouTube comments up though because I spent some time trying to figure that out and didn't figure it out. And I've not gone back to it. So I tend to just read those. Okay, so then what's next? I'm going to keep problems down a little lower. Let's start getting rid of some of these temporary variables. When scale x and y are out of order, I usually, especially when they're being assigned the same value, I usually think that is going to be a pass-through assignment. We'll see if that's the case. Same thing here. I'm going to try to do a plus equals 6 here. And the issue here is what field, if any, are we checking? It could be that we actually have a real variable. I'm going to choose scale x. All of these are the same. We won't know until we get to the PSP if we chose the right field there. GCC will optimize that out. All right, animate entity call. Whether or not this is an explicit check against 0 or not, I'm not sure. And we have this block 17, which is a go-to. We also have a default case here. I'm going to take care of that. Nothing is after the switch, so we don't have to worry about the return there. A break will be fine, and as long as it's more consistent, it's probably correct. When I get to 97 BAE. Oh, that's the menuing. I have wanted to look at that. So I looked a little bit. I think it was, I can't remember anymore if it was Sozu D or Xianimo. Somebody made a debug menu that you can load. You have to set the emulator to 8 megabytes, sorry, RAM, and then it will load a debug menu into the extra RAM. And starting from the bottom right, we're in the Karasuman, and yeah, where am I starting? I'm just jumping all around right now. We do have a timer here, and I think it's just called timer, if I remember correctly. And the timer uses the standard not minus minus. We do have another field here. Let's see if there is, if I named it anything. We don't have this one yet, so we will have to go through and figure that one out. Oh, you're paying attention today? Oh, Soten.fun is the one we use for most of the stuff here. A shift by 6 is the same as a multiply by 64, and I think most of this has been multiplied by 64. The only reason that matters, and I think I'm going to make it 64 times, the only reason that probably matters is if you have an equivalent division to go with it. The division code is going to generate very different code than the shift. We do have a function being used as an argument, the return value of the function being used as an argument, which is not common necessarily, but could be. And there's a new field that we'll need to define here. So we're 14 shorts in. So 14 shorts is the same as 7 words. 1, 2. I still don't know what's going on here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're at offset 90, I believe, and we can check that. Let's look at the args here on 54. So this is loading offset A0. So further out than I thought. And it's a word, so we'll make it a sine 32 and we'll call it angle. We do have some new fields here that we need to account for and make sure that those get ported back. So we're going to call it Karasuman angle, and really this is the orb angle. Maybe we should call it orb angle. That's coming out at A4, so I'm really wrong on these. So this must be 9C. I wonder if there is some padding or alignment issue that I'm running into. I don't think that I wanted this. Let's do this. Let's throw this in there. Yeah, I think that Is it all working out still? Yeah. Will it make it easier for you to do? I don't think it'll make it easier for you to do arbitrary code execution. You would be able to write your snake game in C and then compile it, and then use the machine code that you compile, which might make that part easier, unless you've already written the snake part. This temp S0 we're going to call angle, which will give us 2 angle variables, and we need to fix that then. Angle's coming as a sine 16. It should be a sine 32, pretty sure. I should have gotten rid of this go-to earlier, but I'm going to fix these, and then we'll get back to that. Another timer issue. Sorry, jumping around quite a bit today. Not following any logical progression here.
When they push forward, I push back. Didn't do that. When they push back, I push forward. I didn't do that.
1 second here.
We use Blender, but why do we use Blender?
Oh, come on, stop. All right, so we have another timer decrement here. I need to close some tabs. Oh, bummer. How many changes did it get rid of? I don't know. It got rid of a bunch of stuff. Oh well. We'll do it again. I think all my alignment got removed. That's okay. I think that this looks better. I'm going to save. Let's see. Pause Y. Layer dot. Went down a bit. It's okay. Let me get rid of this go-to while I'm thinking about it. We do need the decrement. There, I missed that. So we have this go-to up here, setting var v0, jumping up to block 17, and setting the step. That's really just setting the step to this value. Thank you, Dizek. Oh, interesting. So Nate's saying that once Super Mario World or Mario 64? Oh, I didn't realize there was a project for that. I do eventually want to get back to my journey, and all this started with looking at Genesis games, and Genesis games weren't typically written in C. Some of them were, but not most. This is interesting. So it seems like M2C is convinced that angle is a sine 16, both places that it's being used. And it could be, I wrote it as a sine 32. when I set this up the first time, but it looks like I probably am wrong, and it probably is a sine 16. So let's fix that here. We're gonna make this a sine 16. And are all these correct now? It looks like that is correct. Getting a YouTube video transmission incoming. Thank you. I do want to point out, if you are interested in other decomp related things that aren't necessarily video games, but are important, Mr. MIDI, who has shown up quite a few times here, he is working on a decomp project for Firewire driver for macOS in macOS 26, whatever the name of that is, because I haven't updated yet. They got rid of the Firewire driver, and for some of us that's a big deal because we still use Firewire or IEEE 1394 hardware. The last piece of this is here. It looks like the arg2 angle between entities. This one using where, so I'm gonna try to get that into a variable. Angle between. And he's been posting some things on YouTube about that as well. I would like to contribute to that. I actually started doing a similar project before realizing that he was working on one and had sent me a video about it way back in May, I think. I'm not sure. He must have gotten wind somehow of that happening. So it's not this. So let's go over to the PSP version and see what might be going on. So we just have this one last piece of this. It's a it's probably just a sine 16. There we go. So that looks like it. So this is going to be matching on the PlayStation, but not necessarily the PSP. Why was that a sine 30 or a sine 16 instead of a sine 32, and what made me consider that? It's possible that we have a function signature, and the function signature would have done that for us without needing a variable, but my guess is that there was a variable because normally we don't have function signatures. So what's happening here? What are the missing instructions? Shift to the left 16 bits and then shift back to the right 16 bits. And why are we doing that? Because we're loading a 32-bit value, but we're treating that 32-bit value as 16. So we need to get rid of the top 16 bits. But to get rid of the top 16 bits by masking, we would need to know the sign and then choose the appropriate mask based on the sign. Or we can just shift the whole thing over by 16 bits. That'll set the top bit to the sign of the 16-bit value. And then when we shift right arithmetic back, that maintains whatever the top bit is in all the bits that we're shifting back. And so we get the hardware to do it for us instead of having to write code to do that. So it's not something that we necessarily would write in C, but a compiler can do that because it knows what the right thing to do is. All right, so let's go grab PSP version. And we'll need to get this re-rendered to fit on my screen, and it's not going to do it. Let's see if I can guess approximately where this is. I hate it when this happens. I can click there, and I can click there. Come on, you can do it. I guess that's okay. We'll get through. So we're gonna use the Castlevania preset. Sometimes there's a way that I can fix this. Usually it's by resizing the window, but in this case, not so much. So we're gonna start with this code, and we'll need to grab and fix the entity extension to do that. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it just fixes itself. So this is let me fix this. It's back to correct answer. We have a bunch of code that doesn't exist, and it probably is somewhere else. Or maybe it just doesn't exist. The other thing is looking at this line 46, what's happening here? It looks like we're putting the player in a pointer. So we need an entity, a pointer variable. So we're going to grab player. This happens. Not uncommon. Odd. Doesn't really do anything. So our variables are a little mixed up with the registers they're associated with. Actually, this angle looks like it is the same angle. So we don't have a second variable. And then our player down here, maybe this, it can't be the same player pointer, so are we getting the player pointer again? It looks like it. That gets optimized out on the PlayStation version. The player macro is a macro to the first element of the G entities array, and so we'll see it all kinds of different ways in the assembly. And we don't necessarily know what it's going to be until you see the rest of the code, because it could be a reference to the table, it could be a reference to the first element. That's how C arrays work. So really it looks like this top area is a PlayStation specific feature. Let's look at this one last thing here, 32. So this tells us it is not an explicit check against 0. It is just using this as a truthy value. But it is pulling it into, it almost looks like it's pulling it into a variable. So I'm calling this player, but it's not really player. So I'm going to have to rename this and just call it entity. But it is the same variable as the other one. So let's carefully rename that. I can't just replace player, I don't think, because yeah, we get that. So we're pretty close. I think the only difference, so most of the code was correct. The only difference is this checkup here seems to be PlayStation specific. And there's a age-old question: should this be specifically checking for the US version of the game? Should it be checking for not the PlayStation version of or PSP version of the game? I don't know. I think we just have symbols that are different now, which is fine. The symbols that we have, we will have to fix, but this should work on the PlayStation as well. And it does. Let's grab this for the PlayStation. And I think I'm going to do the same thing with the other one, where I'm going to wait until we get data to pull this in. What time are we at? Do I not have a timer anymore? Oh, drat. I lost my dock that had... stream info. Where did it go? Well, that's a bummer. It looks like, though, I probably have to call it a day. So we'll get this in for Orbitac. Make sure that it compiles. And then we'll go. It just started. It didn't work. Don't bother checking. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. So let's do a diff stage. Oh, something bad. Very not good. So let's build this again and see if we have... that was the issue. Always... This should be an error. But we got through that error and still kept compiling. That's odd. We should have failed way up here. So let's go fix the entity extension. And that will take a while to compile. I'm gonna grab those. And we'll build all there because this will affect the PSP version as well. Yeah, it was the XT definition. I meant to, mentally, I was thinking when I was doing other stuff and talking about other stuff in the decomp.me screen, I thought, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to go in the background while I'm talking about this, and I'm going to update the EXT and start this build because I know it's going to take a while. And then I didn't do it. So in my brain, this was already done, but in reality, it was not. So we have a clean build for PlayStation. I've spent some time trying to get rid of some of these warnings. Some of them can't be dealt with. In some cases, there's pragmas that can disable them. We're still building clean on the PSP. So what I would have to do to get this code into the PSP now is either I'd have to import the data, which I'm not going to do quite yet because there's other data that comes before it, or update the global variable references to point to the PSP specific ones. And I don't want to do that because that's just going to be throwaway work. So what I'm going to do instead is call it a day. And then we'll get back tomorrow and maybe finish off Karasuman. I don't know. There's 2 functions left, right? No, just 1. The Raven attack. Okay, so there's just 1 function left. We should be able to finish that hopefully tomorrow. And then I think I have a little bit more time. Last stream of the year. Finish off Karasuman. Go to soten.z.dev, learn more about this project, decompilation, all kinds of things, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Dizik won't be here. Bummer. See you next year, Dizik. And Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year's Eve. Get your your vice of choice ready. Get a loved one that you can smooch. We like making hats. That's our family tradition, is to make hats on New Year's. And so we'll see what happens. All right. Adios.